Welcome back to the workshop. My name's Jack, this is Everyman Builds, and today we're going to make this super simple, super heavy table saw sled. So stick around and I'll show you how. I start by measuring my table saw. Now the actual dimensions here aren't important, as long as the sled is wider than the space between the mitre slots. And I use about 1/4 of a sheet of 18mm MDF for this sled. I cut it using my brilliant Erbauer track saw, and one thing that I do that I don't see many other videos doing is I use both connecting bars, one underneath and one on top. This is a lot more rigid than just the one bar. It took about 8 seconds to cut all the pieces that I need, and there are 4 cuts in total. What can you do in 8 seconds? And then as glue takes some time to properly cure, I glue and clamp the 2 boards that make up the fence first. And unlike typical woodworking videos, I do not spread glue with my fingers. Some people say that you can never have too many clamps, but I think this is just the right amount for this particular project. Once clamped, the fence is set aside and left overnight to dry. While that happens, I measure and mark where I want to pre-drill and countersink to fix the back fence. For aesthetics, as if anyone cares, I will make these markings equidistant. And then it is over to the bandsaw where I cut a piece of oak to 12mm deep by 13mm wide. These will act as the runners for the sled, and they are a nice tight fit. I pack out the runners using some small penny washers so that they sit slightly proud of the table saw surface, and then apply a few dabs of superglue to hold the sled in place temporarily, until I can secure it with screws. And then I just pre-drill, countersink and screw the runners in place. It was sticking ever so slightly at the back, so by drawing on the runner and moving it back and forth a few times, I can see where the pencil was rubbed off and lightly sand the runner down. And then I apply some bry wax to both the runner and the base to help it glide a little bit easier. If you haven't yet and you're enjoying this video, perhaps you would consider subscribing to see future videos. I've got a few good projects lined up that you might enjoy too. And now it moves a lot more freely. With the glue dry, I can remove the squeeze out with a block plane and fix the front fence in place. One screw is the permanent placement for that screw, and the other is so that we can align the fence perfectly perpendicular to the blade. To get started, I raise the blade through the base of the sled and move the sled back and forth until it is cut through. Then, using the 5 cut method that I first saw on William Ing's channel, I can see just how far out of square I am. And first time around it's quite a bit out. One end is 28.5mm and the other is 25.9mm. I used an online calculator to tell me how far to move the fence forwards or backwards, and I'll leave a link to that in the description. I needed to move my fence around 2.05mm forwards, and I'm eyeballing because I don't have feeler gauges. I secure the fence in its new position and run the whole process again. This time a lot closer at 37.7mm and 38.0mm. took a few tries, but we've got, it's going to be difficult to do, 21.5, and flip it over, 21.5. Spot on. Good. Can't ask for it to be much more square than that. Until the next one, take care.